The outpost at Baron's Edge smelled like dust, sweat, and failure. A 100 lighty. Years from the core, it was where dreams came to die. Miners who couldn't strike a vein, traders too poor to pay docking fees, mercenaries past their prime. Among them shuffled a figure with downcast eyes and a threadbare cloak. Her name was Lara. Zyrrani by birth. She had left her war-torn home world in search of survival. Once her wings had gleamed with violet fire, her claws sharp with pride. Now they hung limp, dulled by hunger. She had been many things in her life, a daughter, a wife, a mother. But war and exile had stripped those identities away. She was just another desperate alien in a place that didn't care. Work was scarce. Every ship's captain who came to Vaughn's Edge wanted strong arms or quick reflexes. Not a quiet Zyrrani widow with nothing but a faded satchel. Each rejection weighed heavier until she almost stopped asking. Almost, because hunger nodded her belly, and her memories whispered of her daughter, long gone, who had always said, "Mama, your cooking makes everything better." It was that memory that carried her to Dock 12 where a freighter loomed. A patched, ugly vessel, with human markings painted in stubborn strokes. The Iron Faith. Its captain was rumored to be human, one of the strange species carving their name among the stars with audacity and grit. She approached, claws trembling. A human stood at the gangplank, broad-shouldered, jacket slung over one arm. He looked tired but alert, his eyes sharp as they scanned the dock. Lara swallowed. "Sir, I don't talk much, but I can cook." The words came out like a plea. Her throat tightened, ready for the sneer, the dismissal. Instead, the man blinked, then shrugged. "Works for me." The man's name was Captain Roar. He didn't ask for references, didn't demand her history. He just waved her aboard with the same practicality he used to check fuel gauges. The Iron Faith was a freighter, lean and battered, hauling whatever jobs paid enough to keep it flying. The crew was small too. Mechanics, a navigator, and now her quarters were little more than a bunk and a locker, but it was hers. The galley was worse. Dust clung to the counters, ration packs piled high in corners, half of the cooking units broken. Lara's spines bristled in dismay. Still, her claws itched to work. She said, to cleaning, repairing, mixing spices from her satchel with bland ration starch. The first night, the crew eyed her wearily as she served bowls of stew, steam rising with scents of Zyrrani herbs. Navigator Juno sniffed. "Smells not terrible." Mechanic Harrow poked at it. "Looks edible." Then they tasted. Silence fell, then groans of delight. Roar lifted his spoon slowly, studying her as he ate. "Well," he said, "you weren't kidding." Something inside Lara loosened, a knot of fear untangling. Days became weeks. Lara fell into rhythm, waking early to prepare meals, checking supplies, trading recipes with station vendors when they docked. Her quiet presence became part of the ship's heartbeat. The crew began lingering in the galley, not just for food, but for comfort. Her dishes brought warmth after long hauls, soothed arguments, softened exhaustion. The Iron Faith no longer Smelled like metal and grease, but like bread, spices, and home. LRA didn't speak much, but she listened. She learned Roar's dry humor, Harrow's curses. At faulty engines, Juno's muttered star maps. They didn't pry into her past. They didn't need to. One night, Roar found her sitting alone after the crew had gone. "You never sit with us," he said, leaning on the doorway. She lowered her gaze. "I don't want to intrude. You're crew," he said simply. The word struck her. Crew, not burden, not property. Crew. The turning point came on the rim. A job gone wrong. Cargo. Raiders ambushed them. 3 ships against 1. The iron faith rattled. Under fire, shields buckling, panic swept the crew. Roar barked orders, voice calm as steel. Juno, burn engines. Harrow, reroute power. LRA clutched the galley. Counter, hard hammering. She was no warrior, no fighter, but she saw the crew's faces. Fear, fatigue, hunger. She ran to the stores, claws moving with urgency. She cooked as the ship shuddered, pulling from emergency rations, mixing spices with practice speed. When the crew staggered into the galley between skirmishes, she was ready. Hot stew rich with herbs pressed into their hands. "Eat," she urged. Softly, they obeyed, and somehow the food studied them. Haru's hand stopped shaking as he patched conduits. Juno's voice grew clearer as she plotted evasive jumps. Even Roar took a spoonful before returning to the bridge, and his orders rang sharper, stronger. The iron faith survived that night, barely, but they survived. Later, as the ship limped into safe space, Roar entered the galley. His jacket was torn, blood on his temple. "You saved us," he said quietly. LRA froze. "I only cooked." He shook his head. "You gave us strength when we had none left. Don't downplay that." Her claws trembled. No one had ever spoken of her cooking like it was more than survival. No one but her daughter. And now this human. Months passed. The iron faith gained a reputation, not just for daring runs, but for always returning. With crew intact, spirits high. Other haulers whispered of the human captains' luck, never knowing that luck smelled like Zyrrani bread and tasted like spice stew. On distant colonies, merchants begged for LRA's recipes. She traded a few, but kept the best for the ship. It was theirs, her gift to them. Slowly she began to speak more. Not much, but enough. A soft laugh here, a quiet suggestion there. The crew welcomed it without question. One evening, as the suns of a frontier colony sank low, painting the galley gold, Roar sat across from her. "You ever think about settling down?" he asked. Her wings twitched once, but that life was burned away. He studied her eyes steady. "You built something new here with us." She met his gaze, chest tight. She wanted to argue, to retreat into silence. But then she thought of the ship, the laughter in the galley, the word crew. "Yes," she said softly, "I suppose I have." Years later, when the iron faith was old and its crew older, stories spread across the frontier. They spoke of a fighter that always came back, of a human captain with iron will, of a Zyrrani cook whose meals gave strength greater than weapons. Some said it was superstition. Others called it HFY nonsense. But those who had eaten at that table knew better, because in the darkest hours when fear clawed at the soul, a quiet voice would say, "I don't talk much, sir, but I can cook." And a human would shrug, smile, and answer,